what I'd really like to discuss is tailoring a resume. And there's a couple of ways to do it, but I've got like a 7 or 8 step approach I really like to follow, and I advocate students follow. And I think it really applies across whether you're in the electrical engineering department, or computer science, or civil engineering. It really doesn't make a difference. What it makes a difference is your knowledge of your own field. So what I advise students to do is come up with a list of ideal job titles. From there, I would then ask them to take 3 or 4 job titles and then look to companies that have those job titles and literally print out a job description from said companies. From there, I would break down all the job descriptions and see where there's similar trends. I would focus on all the keywords a company offers in their job offerings. And then I would ask the student to look through those offerings and tick off a check mark where they have a skill and give themselves an X mark where they don't. And I'd say if a student has about 70 to 80% of what a company is looking for, then they should decide to apply. That's really the formation of the idea. From here, the tailoring comes in. And what a student needs to do is then go back to those check marks and X marks and say to themselves, where do I have this skill set on my resume? If a student doesn't have it on their resume, they need to make sure they get it on their resume. If a student does have one of these items on their resume, they really need to say to themselves, do I have it in the way that's appealing to the employer, or can I flush it out better? Additionally, they might say, am I using the word the employer is looking for? So for an example, if an employer calls something VLSC and the student has the long form name, they really should stick to using the words that the employer has given them. So this even gets back further to the CV versus resume, where a student now needs to take inventory of all their work here at the university and give it back to the employer. So if you've done 4 projects on, big data, or 4 projects on coding, or 4 projects on, embedded software, and that's what the role's asking for, you should actually list all of those 4 projects and make that the highlight of your resume. Additionally, students should look to list things continuously. So typically a student might say to me, well, I've listed Verilog on my resume in my technical skills. And I said, but within your bullet points, you need to show an employer you know how to use it. And you need to flush out those technical skills. So if you use Verilog 3 times in 3 significant projects, you should mention that. So tailoring your resume is an art form, and it's something that needs to be done over and over. What I discuss with my students typically is, if you are going to do, for example, embedded software, come up with a baseline embedded software resume, hold that to the side, and then as you apply for positions, further develop that resume towards the positions. So you may now have 3 or 4 resumes tailored toward different sectors of the job market, and then you work on those and evolve those as you apply.